Senator Elizabeth Warren is proposing an ultra-millionaires tax. That includes a 2% tax on U.S. households with a net worth of $50 million and above. Also, an additional 1% levy for any fortunes exceeding $1 billion. This would cost the 100 richest Americans $78 billion. Joining me right now to discuss this is National Taxpayers Union Executive Vice President Brandon Arnold. Brandon, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us. What do you think about Warren's wealth tax?
I think it's an absolute disaster, to be honest with you. This is a mess of a tax. It's been tried in other countries. It's been tried in a dozen European countries, and 75% of them have realized that it's far more difficult to administer this tax than it's worth to bring in those revenues that are attached to it. You look at a country like France, they lost 42,000 millionaires in their country, left the country largely because of this wealth tax. It's why they repealed it back in 2017. It's why a lot of Democrats and virtually all Republicans say this is a bad idea. We've looked at other countries. It doesn't work, and we shouldn't even bother trying it here.
Well, there's also a question about fairness. I mean, you're talking about people who have already paid taxes on their income and on their assets for their lifetimes. And then when they culminate and get their assets all tallied up, she's putting another tax on top of this after they've already paid taxes on it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think when you poll this, there are a lot of people that support it. And I think it's because of this notion that the billionaires don't pay enough, that the Jeff Bezoses and Bill Gates of the world need to pay a little bit more. I understand where that sentiment is coming from. This is the wrong way to get to it because, as you said, it's taxing income and taxing things multiple times. It's building an entirely new tax structure at the IRS that's just going to go absolutely audit crazy in this country. And Elizabeth Warren realizes that. Her bill actually contains $100 billion more for the IRS. That's almost doubling the funding of the IRS, despite the fact that Janet Yellen, the Secretary of the Treasury, the department that oversees the IRS, says we don't really want this because it would be too much of a pain in the neck to administer. It's just impossible to even think about how IRS agents would need to go into your homes, appraise your artwork and jewelry and wine collections and things like that. Again, Europe tried this. It didn't work. They got rid of it. There's a reason for that. We shouldn't try it here in the United States.
There's even more to it because when you look at the amount of money that this is supposed to generate, you're talking $78 billion. That's not going to even make a dent in all of the costs that we're talking about. They're going to have to raise more revenue, tax more people, and that just creates this creep of a tax increase that, you know, sort of circulates throughout our economy in different populations, even though they're calling it just the wealthy. What is wealthy? Is that $400,000 in income? Is it $250,000 in income? Eventually, you're going to hit more people because you're going to need more revenue to pay for some of these expensive programs. That's how I see it.
Oh, that's absolutely correct. And this tax is designed to eliminate billionaires. So as the years go by, you look at a billionaire like Michael Jordan, he's worth about $2 billion. After about 11 years, he would cease to be a billionaire. So he wouldn't be paying this wealth tax, or his student wouldn't be paying this wealth tax anymore. Well, Elizabeth Warren wants to build all sorts of government programs on top of this. She wants to use the purported trillions of dollars that this would generate to expand Medicare into a Medicare for All program. Well, once we eliminate these billionaires, we're going to lose the revenue associated with it. We're creating structural deficit problems that are going to plague this country for decades to come. That's why it's such a poorly constructed tax. And it's if you want more money out of the rich, this is not the way to get more money out of the rich.
Well, let's talk about tax season. Here we are once again right around April. The tax season causing more headaches as remote work becomes the new normal for many Americans. Some states are trying to tax remote workers across state lines, subjecting them to a double taxation as well. Brandon, what needs to be done to combat this controversy over this year's tax filing? That's another idea that the Democrats have. If you work from home, maybe you should pay additional taxes.
Yeah, this is a big problem for millions of workers. A lot of people have been working from home because that's honestly what we were told to do. Stay at home. Don't go into the office where you might spread the virus. But now for doing what we were told to do, for following the rules, there are tax collectors in multiple states that are harassing people that are saying you owe taxes not just in the state where you work, but also in the state where you live. This is an interstate issue, so this is a Congress's jurisdiction, of course. And John Thune, a senator from South Dakota, actually has a very good bill to tell states, listen, people can only be taxed once. They shouldn't be taxed multiple times. They shouldn't be having to file tax returns in multiple states. It should have been included in this COVID bill, should have been included in the last COVID bill. Unfortunately, it was left on the cutting room floor. It addresses this problem, it fixes this problem, and it's going to save a headache for, again, millions of taxpayers that are completely unaware of the fact that both New York and, say, Connecticut are going to be going after their revenue this tax season.
Unbelievable. I don't know how many times you can go back to the well to keep taxing the same people. Brandon, we'll keep following it. Thank you so much. Brandon Arnold.